Hey guys. All right, so this is going to be my first episode of the Cecil Hotel Chronicles. The first person I'm going to start off with is going to be Goldie Osgood. So this picture here that I found is of her gravestone, and it says in loving memory of Goldie Osgood, 1885 to 1964. There is newspaper articles, however, they're very, 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 very hard to read. So if you can somehow fix it to where you can read it, I mean, by all means, please do. So this photo here says Goldie Rogers Osgood. She was born May 31st, 1885, Eagle Grove, Wright County, Iowa, USA. Her death was in June 4th, 1964, at age 79, in Los Angeles County, California, USA. So the burial was at Valhalla Memorial Park in North Hollywood, Los Angeles County. So I was on the Reddit and I found something interesting, so I'm going to read it to you. It was under the Reddit Unsolved Murders. It's titled The Death of Pigeon Goldie Osgood. On June 4th, 1964, a 79-year-old retired telemarketer named Goldie Osgood was found in her hotel room dead. The autopsy showed that she was beaten, stabbed, RAPED, and choked with a rag. It was actually a hand towel from the hotel. Her hotel room was ransacked. Friends say they talked to her merely minutes before her death. She was known for feeding pigeons at a nearby park, and that's how she earned her nickname, Pigeon Goldie. She was staying at the Cecil Hotel, where she was very liked and was a long-time resident. The hotel is now known as Stay on Main. It is a very notorious place where many unsolved murders, such as Elisa Lam, a woman found in the water tank on the roof, have occurred. There have also been multiple accounts of unaliving and serial unalivers. One was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. The other one, which I wasn't aware of actually until recently, his name is Jack Unterweger, and he stayed there too. Not much information can be found on Goody's death, only that a man named Jax B. Ellinger was arrested a few hours after her body was found. He had been seen walking in the same area Mrs. Good would feed her pigeons. He was covered in blood, was later released due to lack of evidence. So that leads me to wonder, did they actually, obviously back then they did not test the blood to see whose it was. However, we're now in 2026. So I'm wondering if, like, the case is still open. So I'm thinking that they would absolutely want to test it again. At least I would hope. I don't know. Maybe someone needs to give them a call. Not much information can be found on her death. Only that a man named Jax B was arrested a few hours after her body was found. In the news article, it was speculated that her murder was connected to two other women who were murdered around the same area. There was one that was stabbed to death on May 16th, 1964. The other had a similar interest as Goldie Osmond that fed pigeons in MacArthur Park. She was also stabbed to death on April 29th, 1964. Sadly, I could not find much more information on these murders. There was no leads, and I could not find any other suspects that could have been interviewed. The case has gone cold. Here's some comments that I'm going to read as well. That is so sad. How could someone harm such an innocent lady whose hobby was to feed pigeons of all things, and at such an age too? May her soul rest in peace. It's very creepy, though, that this happened at the same hotel that Elisa Lam stayed at. Before you wrote her name, I was like, where has that hotel sounded familiar from? Her story is very scary. The person says, I'm actually researching Elisa Lam's case to write about her also. I came across Mrs. Osgood's case in the process, and I felt that she didn't get the justice she deserves. As you can see, there is very limited information to work with. Unfortunately, a lot of awful things have happened in that general area due to poor conditions. Thanks for taking the time to read this, though. My goal was to keep her memory going so that she wouldn't be forgotten like any other unsolved mystery. The person replies, of course. I think that in this day and age, with how far they've come, how far the coverage can be reached thanks to the internet is the best way to tell a story. Spread it further. than the local district. It obsessed me to read stories that are posted in a local district that are just forgotten about, and the person never received justice for their death. I actually found another article. This one is titled My Father's Cecil Hotel Experience Haunted Him for Life. I previously shared on this blog my father's terrifying experience at the Cecil Hotel back in the 1960s. Over the years, many have reached out to me, interested in learning more. I was interviewed for the Netflix documentary, Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, though sadly, my interview didn't make the final cut. The documentary focuses on the mysterious death of a Canadian tourist named Elisa Lam, who was found unalived in a water tank atop the Cecil Hotel in 2013. While authorities ruled the death as an accidental drowning, there are many questions surrounding her death, amplified by the notorious reputation of the hotel. The four-part series covers many of the high-profile crimes that have taken place at the Cecil. For those interested in the possible supernatural influence at the Cecil, I'm sharing my father's terrifying experience. My father lived at the Cecil in 1965. He was a young single immigrant from Northern Ireland who needed affordable accommodations near his workplace. He'd been staying at the Cecil for some time with no unusual incidents to report until one night he woke up to the sensation that someone was smothering him. He described it as a heavy pressure weighing down on his chest and throat, as if someone was sitting atop him. He grabbed for breath and tried to fight back, but it felt like his entire body was paralyzed by an invisible but strong presence. Then as soon as it began, he felt dissipated. My father ran downstairs to the night clerk and explained what happened. The clerk said nonchalantly that someone had been murdered in my dad's room. Now here is going to be, it's a certificate of, I'm not even actually too sure how to pronounce that. Nationalization? I'm not sure. But it is a certificate of this man's father, so I will put that in here so you guys can see it. And his name, I believe, from what I can tell, it does say, it's very, very, very hard to read. Yeah, I can't even read it, sorry. It's very, very hard to read. So Dad's naturalization certificate, that's what it was called, naturalization certificate with the Cecil Hotel, listed as his address. My dad changed rooms and did not experience anything unusual during the rest of his stay. But the experience haunted my father for the rest of his life. Decades later, my father would be visibly shaken when retelling the story of what happened to that room at the Cecil Hotel. He would break out into a sweat and his hands would shake. My mother would caution him to stop telling the story if it upset him so much, but Dad felt compelled to go on, even while clutching his heart. My dad survived the Nazis' bombing in his hometown of Belfast, Northern Ireland, as a child. He recounted having to run to the bomb shelter in the middle of the night with less fear than he told the story about that night at the Cecil Hotel. The logical, rational side of me can dismiss my father's experience at the Cecil as just a nightmare. He was prone to nightmares, very bad ones in which I remember him moaning and crying out in fear. But the thing about his nightmares is that they were always the classic someone chasing me scenario. Never did he have a nightmare that in any way resembled the experience at the Cecil. There's no way for me to know if my father had an encounter with the evil presence that haunts the Cecil Hotel or not. But I do know that whatever my father experienced, it felt very real to him. When my father stayed at the Cecil, he likely wasn't aware of disturbing history, that a dozen suicides had been recorded at the hotel by the mid-60s, including several women. Pauline Otten, 27, unalived herself in 1962 by jumping out of a window at the Cecil. In a tragic twist, she killed a pedestrian on impact. When this woman had jumped, I'm going to do a piece on her as well. So when this woman was jumping to her end, there was a person walking as she jumped and she landed on him, and they both passed from that fall. It was a freak accident for the man, but she was the one who wanted to not be here anymore. Just a year before my father's stay, Goldie Osgood, a retiree known as Pigeon Goldie and the Pigeon Lady of Perishing Square, was arred and murdered in her room. The coroner said Osgood had been choked to death with a hand towel. The case was never solved. Though an initial arrest was made, the Medium Post offers a good overview of the deaths associated with the Cecil Hotel. I actually have a list of all the, I'm sorry, I apologize. I cannot say words on here. YouTube does not like that, unfortunately. So I have to say things, I'll spell them or make another word for them. But there is a list, which I will go over as well, probably in my next video, of all the unaliving and murders in that hotel. There's quite a bit. Unfortunately, the Cecil's reputation only grew worse. In subsequent decades, it has been home to at least 2 serial unalivers, including the infamous Night Stalker. And then Elisa Lam's mysterious death garnered worldwide interest and once again put the Cecil in the spotlight. The hotel tried to rebrand itself as Stay on Main for a few years and is undergoing yet another transformation, but still attracts much attention from paranormal enthusiasts. And this is why I love American Horror Story, because, yeah, season 5, The Hotel Sinister History, inspired a season of American Horror Story. Yes, it did. That was the one that Lady Gaga played in. If you have interest in the story of the Cecil Hotel and the Elisa Lam case, I encourage you to watch this new documentary and let me know what you think. Many of you have reached out to me over the years to offer your own experiences when visiting the Cecil Hotel, and I appreciate your comments. And then there was an update, and it was called Dad's Stay at the Haunted Cecil Hotel. And this is the one where he says that he was interviewed. So he just says that, out of curiosity, he Googled the address listed as his dad's residential address on the form. Results for the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles popped up. As I delved in deeper, I discovered what a bizarre history that place has. And it also made me remember Dad's haunted hotel story. So in modern times, the Cecil became home to serial unalivers such as the Night Stalker, which was Richard Ramirez, and Jack Unterweger. Now the hotel is trying to reinvent itself by promoting its central location and affordable rates. You really should check out their views and photos online. Talk about bait and switch. The lobby is absolutely grand, pristine, with gorgeous architectural details. But once you leave the lobby, things get grim and grimy in a hurry. He also goes on to say if you enjoy reading hotel horror stories, just Google it. Some politely refer to it as transient hotel, and others call it an outright dump. This gentleman has an excellent description of his stay there entitled A Dump with a Future. The Cecil has also served as an inspiration for the series. So in a nutshell, the Cecil Hotel had never had a sterling reputation, even when it was known as the Hotel Cecil during my dad's tenure there in the mid-60s. In 1962, a woman unalived by jumping from a hotel room at the Cecil, who also, by doing so, as I said, this is the first article, sorry. As I said, when the woman jumped, she also unalived a pedestrian. But I'm reading this because it mentions Goldie Osgood. And she was known as the Pigeon Lady of Pershing Square. She was choked to unaliving in a room there in 1964. The case was never solved. He says here that it leads him right into his dad's haunted hotel experience, where every time the dad told the story, he could feel the fear come off him in waves, even after so much time.
Last night, something bad was happening at the Cecil Hotel.
This is absolutely insane. People are packing up. You see them in the windows, like trying to leave. That was scary. Is that fire truck again? Oh, and here come cops now.
I went upstairs to check the water tanks.
No, what happened? Somebody. Oh, no.
Last night.
I do hope you enjoyed the story. I apologize. This is my first one I've ever made with Canva. Oh, it's been real fun. I've been at this all day long. So, I'm sure I'll get better, and next time I will not use my phone. However, I do hope you guys enjoyed this. There will be more coming out. There's lots more to the Cecil Hotel. It's not only haunted, but there's so many unalivings and murders and ghosts, and it's insane. Anyways, you guys have a great night.